Once upon a time, in a quiet industrial town, there was a young man who worked diligently in a large factory. He was still learning the ropes back then, guided each day by an older technician, a man with weathered hands and quiet wisdom. The old man didn't talk much, but when he did, his words carried weight. Talk less, do more, and never stop improving yourself. Master every corner of this place. That was his golden rule, and the young man followed it like gospel. He listened. He worked hard. He kept his head down. Over the years, he didn't just become skilled, he became exceptional. 10 years passed. The old man retired. The young apprentice was no longer a learner. He was now the technician others depended on. But even with all his skills, something didn't sit right. One afternoon, burdened with a heavy heart, he decided to visit his old mentor. They sat down in the shade outside the mentor's home. The young man stared at the ground, then finally spoke. "I've done everything you told me," he said, sighing. "I kept quiet. I did my job. I mastered every skill in that factory. But while I've stayed in the same place, I've watched others, less experienced, less skilled, climb past me. They get promoted. They get raises. And me? I'm still stuck at the same wage I earned when I was your apprentice." The old man leaned back, eyes sharp beneath wrinkled lids. "Are you sure," he asked, "that you've made yourself indispensable?" The young man nodded without hesitation. "Absolutely." The old man stood and slowly paced back and forth. Then he paused, looked at his former student, and said something unexpected. "Then take a day off. Doesn't matter the reason, just do it." The young man blinked, surprised. "That's your advice?" "Sometimes," the old man said with a small smile, "you have to step away to be seen." So the young man did. The next day he filed a request for leave. Just one day. When he returned, the factory was in mild chaos. Machines had malfunctioned. Orders were delayed. No one knew how to fix things the way he did. His absence had left a void. Later that afternoon, the manager called him in. "We had quite a rough time yesterday," the manager said. "Frankly, we didn't realize how many fires you put out every single day, until you weren't here to do it." Then came the news: he was promoted, senior technician, a raise, recognition, a thank you for all the unnoticed effort. The young man was grateful and thrilled. He returned to his mentor and shared the good news. The old man simply nodded. "Now you understand," he said. "Sometimes people only notice a light bulb when it goes off." That lesson stuck with the young man, and whenever he felt overlooked again, he'd quietly take a day off. Like clockwork, he'd return to chaos, and soon after, rewards followed. This went on for months, until one morning he arrived at the factory gates and his keycard no longer worked. Confused, he checked in at the front desk. A grim face met him. "I'm sorry," the receptionist said. "Your contract's been terminated. Management decided to let you go." Stunned, silent, he stood in front of the factory, watching others walk past him, entering the very place he once kept running. That evening, heartbroken and angry, he made his way back to his mentor's home. "Why did this happen?" he asked, his voice tight with disbelief. "I did everything you told me. I followed the formula. Why was I let go?" The old man didn't answer right away. He just shook his head slowly. "No," he said, You didn't follow everything. You heard only half the lesson. What do you mean? The young man asked. The mentor stood and picked up a small lamp from the table nearby. You understood that people don't notice a light bulb when it's always on. They take it for granted. You got that part, but you never stayed long enough to hear the rest. So what's the second half? The mentor's voice grew soft but firm. If a light bulb keeps going out, again and again, sooner or later, someone's going to replace it. Not because they didn't need it, but because they couldn't count on it. The young man's eyes widened. The truth hit him harder than he expected. Reliability, the old man continued, matters as much as skill. You taught them to expect your absence, not your presence. There was a long pause before the mentor leaned forward and looked him in the eye. "Let me ask you something else," he said gently. "Do you have people in your life who are always there? Friends, family, maybe even coworkers who support you silently every day?" The young man nodded slowly. "Now imagine," the old man said, "one day they're gone just like that. You'd finally realize how much they meant to you. The same goes for you. Don't let yourself be taken for granted, but don't make absence your value either. Be seen, be steady, be grateful. And yes, know your worth, but don't chase it by disappearing." He paused, then said quietly, "There's a balance in this life. Find it, and life will give you balance in return." That day, the young man didn't just learn about work. He learned about life. He learned that silence can be powerful, but so can presence. That absence creates space, but reliability builds legacy. That value isn't always in what we do occasionally, but in what we do consistently. So ask yourself today, who are the light bulbs in your life that you've come to expect will always be there? Before it's too late, take a moment. Tell them you see them, thank them, and if you are the light, burn steadily. Shine wisely. This has been a story to make you think. Thanks for watching. If this touched your heart, drop a comment below.